what makes you confident that if you pass this proposal that there will be high-performing charter networks that actually want to come to Florida? And as a follow-up to that, if you don't spend the $200 million because there's not enough interest in the first year, what happens to that money?
Well, the first one's easy. Number one is the folks that are being targeted are not mildly successful, not partially successful. They're widely successful in turning around the low-income, low-performing charter school districts that we're trying to affect. And so I think that those types of entities want to go in and make a difference. Leading up to that point, that those type of entities, numerous conversations over the last year, 2 years have been happening as you travel to different education foundations, events, NCSLs, all the different entities, talking to these different schools, talking to them directly, and saying, why? Why is there only one KIP in Florida? Why is there only one seat in Florida? There's got to be something, because we're the third largest state. And they came back to us with, here's the problems. And so what that bill tries to address are those problems that keep them from coming into our state. And so it does address those problems. It does alleviate some regulatory burdens, and it creates a financial incentive for them to come, which is the biggest, most difficult thing for them to overcome, is that initial startup capital cost. And so I think that, but we'll see. I mean,
I've contacted some of
we
the
hope that people will come to schools of hope,
as well as the ones that have presented in front of House committees, and they pretty much have said they're not interested in coming to Florida, or they have serious concerns.
we've talked to numerous that have said complete opposite and are very excited. I don't know which specific one. Name a specific one that said they're not interested in coming to Florida.
Uncommon schools.
No, I think that Uncommon's been talked to and they are interested.
Okay.
We'll see.
What will happen to the money that's not spent?
It'll be spent.
Speaker Corcoran, you mentioned KIP, and there is only one KIP in Florida, that's in Jacksonville. And that school is middling or on par with its peers. It is not substantially better than other middle schools in Jacksonville because they've been held to the same standard, whereas other KIPs can select their students and do some other things that in Florida might be frowned upon. So if that's your example, that isn't higher performing than other middle schools.
No, the KIP school in Jacksonville has not had the performance rates that you'd see at the other KIP schools nationwide. And the bill addresses that. To the extent that you want to come in and participate in the program, you have to have a record of high-performing success.
But you mentioned KIP, so I guess my question is...
KIP nationwide.
But the reason why the KIP in Jacksonville is because nationwide they were able to, for example, select what students they wanted and pick the quote-unquote higher. My question, the argument is that a charter school, Representative Jones said, just bringing in charter schools isn't necessarily going to solve the problem. My question is, do you think he might be onto something, that it's not just a panacea to bring in charter schools?
Well, first of all, that's not what we're doing. We're in agreement. We don't think you should just bring in charter schools. What we think you should bring in are those entities and those schools who have a wildly successful program of turning around failure factories. That's who we're bringing in. We're bringing in the Michael Jordans and the LeBron James of public schools who turn around programs that have been historically failing for up to 5 years in the state of Florida. Second thing is, it's not true, and we'll get you some of those studies. Here's the reality, is that all of these arguments that you hear over the years slowly and surely get debunked. One of the arguments is that, you know, public charter schools, as opposed to public traditional schools, cherry pick some of the best kids. Well, here's the beauty. Now we have 10, 15, 20 years of history of schools in some of the most difficult neighborhoods with some of the most difficult demographics in Boston and in New York, throughout many of our inner cities. And what they have done is they open up these successful schools. And guess what every single one of those successful schools has? A massive waiting list. And so now what they've done is they've taken, okay, we have 1,000 kids that got into the school and 1,000 kids who didn't get into the school. But all of them had engaged parents. We don't know which 1,000 we're going to get in. All of them have engaged parents. All of them have parents who are involved. All of them have parents who care. All of them have, whether it's a single parent, a grandparent, whatever, they have a guardian who's trying to change that child's life. So then they now have 10 years of tracking. Here's the 1,000 that got in. Here's the 1,000 that didn't get in. and the results are staggering. And that's a recent study out of the Northeast. The most recent one was out of the Northeast relating to a Boston school, and we'll be glad to get that for you. Those are myths. We got to get past myths, because you know what happens when you believe the myths? We destroy kids' lives.
Then why isn't KIPP Jacksonville higher performing according to your hypothesis?
I think that in time, who we're going to bring in the Schools of Hope will have a tremendous performance record, and we'll stand behind it.